The 360's first massively multiplayer role-playing game is here, and it's the second port of a 4-year-old PC game. While this may lead to some technical disappointments, many will find the core gameplay strong and enjoyable, if they can overcome the game's initial hurdles. While some massively multiplayer games are light on story, Final Fantasy XI has plenty. Set in the world of Vana'diel, players begin their career as an adventurer in the nation of their choosing, Baystoke, Sandoria, or Windurst. Each nation has their own storyline, and each ultimately culminates in the player saving the world several times over. Vana'diel certainly has no shortages of difficulties, as each of the 3 expansions has its own imminent apocalypse. If it's not the Shadow Lord, it's the remaining members of an ancient race, or Bahamut, or a corrosive existential darkness. Each concurrent storyline is told over a series of missions and unfurls in a number of lengthy and well-executed cutscenes. But people used to next-gen RPGs will be disappointed when they see that none of these include voice acting, as all of the dialogue is in text. But the game more than makes up for it by providing an overwhelming amount of characters, missions, and quests. And considering the cost of advancing through each expansion pack over the years adds up to over $200, it's nice for newcomers to be able to get the original game and the 3 that followed it for only $50. At the start of the game, players can only pick one of 6 jobs, but unlock 12 more later on. From warriors to summoners, everything one would expect from Final Fantasy is here, with the latest expansion adding Blue Mage, Corsair, and Puppet Master to boot. Unique to the game is the ability to change jobs at any time, meaning players will only need one character to experience everything. Each job must be leveled from scratch, but things go faster on subsequent outings. A short time in, the player will be able to use the spells and abilities of any 2 jobs at the same time. Not all combinations are viable, but hardcore players should level several of them for maximum flexibility. There's a lot of gameplay depth here waiting for the resourceful player, if they spare the time to explore it. Vana'diel is a huge world, with lots to do in addition to leveling jobs and completing story missions. There are hundreds of quests, optional boss battles, a summoning non-player friend to fight with, 2 player versus player sports, crafting, gardening, decorating your house, and more. Once the character reaches level 75, the player can look forward to a variety of large group battles, from hunting gods in ancient ruins to a plethora of instance battlefields and boss encounters. And more is coming all the time. For 4 years, Square has consistently delivered new content every other month. Later this year, chocobo breeding, chocobo racing, and monster coliseum battles will be introduced, all designed to accommodate shorter play sessions. Graphically, Final Fantasy XI isn't on par with current 360 games. While the visual style and animations are top-notch, the game's engine has long since passed its prime, and limits character customization options. Despite these shortcomings, the frame rate still never exceeds 30 and can stutter when entering a new area or displaying multiple attacks. The PC is still the best platform for this game, but the Xbox 360 is a vast improvement over the visuals on the PS2. And while the synthesized sound effects are weak, the game's score is strong and hummable in Square tradition. Adding to the game's initial frustration is a monumental installation process. Copying and updating the 10 gigabytes of data takes about 2 hours, before heading into a registration process not unlike filing taxes. And unless you can master the Xbox controller for both moving your character and talking to other players, you'll need a keyboard as well. It's also worth mentioning that the game is not as user-friendly as its PS2 or PC counterparts when it comes to changing systems. Your gamertag is set to your PlayOnline profile, so you can't play the game on another 360 unless you switch hard drives, unlike the other 2 versions where you just log on to PlayOnline using your profile information. Final Fantasy XI seems to be one of those love it or hate it sort of games, especially in the post-World of Warcraft generation. At first, the game is daunting due to its sheer size and fickle community, but if you can get a foothold in either, you'll be hooked. The game is certainly time-consuming, in a large part due to the size of the world, but there are convenient travel options if you work for them. The game also hails from an era before players ironically expected solo play from their MMO. While there is ample solo content, a vast majority of it requires groups of people. If you can get in a leveling party consistently, you'll be sitting pretty, but those that find themselves waiting for invites instead of doing other things will end up annoyed and defeated. Final Fantasy XI is generally more challenging than other massively multiplayer games, but with the right party makeup and a solid strategy, anything can be accomplished. It's a tough slog from time to time, but ultimately this makes getting that next level or cool item or story snippet all the more rewarding. Final Fantasy XI on the 360 is a solid but sometimes conflicted game. Many features come with frustrating flaws, but it's still compelling. The game is more than the sum of its parts, and learning and progressing through it can be deeply satisfying, if you're able to put in the time.